Hi guys, it's me, HD, and welcome to this qualifying watch-along for the 2018 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And this is, sadly, the final qualifying of 2018. Hopefully it will be good today, and hopefully you guys, wherever you are in the world, whether that's in the Americas or Europe, the UK, Australia, Asia or Africa, hopefully you're all doing well ahead of qualifying. Qualifying starts, by the way, in about an hour's time. Now, if you have missed the results of practice 3, then I will take you through them right now. So, your top 10 is Lewis Hamilton fastest, from Kimi Raikkonen second, Sebastian Vettel is third, and then Verstappen fourth, Bottas fifth, Ricciardo sixth. We'll get on to Ricciardo very soon, had an issue in practice 3, and then Grosjean P7, Hulkenberg P8, Sainz P9, and Esteban Ocon in P10. And then your bottom 10 is Perez, Hartley, Leclerc, Magnussen, Gasly, Alonso, Ericsson, Stroll, Van Dorn, and Sergei Sirotkin. I have to say with Sirotkin, he's been miles off this weekend. He was 9 tenths behind Stroll in practice 2, and in practice 3 he's a second behind. So I don't know what's going on for Sirotkin, but he is miles off the pace. I don't know what's going on, but we'll see if he does improve in qualifying. But as ever, let's go on to previewing the teams and how we think they are going to do in qualifying today. And let's start, of course, with your top 3. First off is Mercedes. Now, pace-wise, there's no real surprises from the Silver Arrows. They look about as quick as I thought they would be. I think definitely the strongest part of their weekend is going to be in qualifying. I don't think they're going to have the race pace to win the Grand Prix. That's just my opinion. But I think for qualifying, they definitely do have a very, very good chance of pole position. Their car just, on lower fuel, looks a lot better than it does on higher fuel. And once they do long runs and get into race simulations, when they do qualifying simulations, the Mercedes does look very good. Now, can they get pole position? I'll be honest, even though they have topped practice 2 and practice 3, I'm still not sure, because I think Ferrari, at the end of qualifying, are going to be very close to Mercedes. I'm still not quite sure who's going to come out on top. I'll get on to my predictions later on, which I made, by the way, after practice 2 and before practice 3 started. But yeah, I think Mercedes will definitely be very competitive for pole. But right now, I couldn't tell you who is going to take it. It's so close, I think, between the 2 Mercedes and the 2 Ferraris. Next up is Ferrari. Now, they have improved compared to Friday practice. In Friday practice, they weren't really trying to go for lap times. They were actually in practice 1 testing parts for 2019. But in practice 3, they ran the engine in a higher mode. It was clear to see that. And the car did, I think, look better. But can they get pole position? I think they can. I absolutely think they can. Even though Lewis Hamilton was very fast at the end of practice 3, Ferrari also were very quick. And I don't think Ferrari got a final run in with either Vettel or Raikkonen. So, yeah, for Ferrari, don't be surprised if they're not on pole. Don't be surprised if they're only, say, half a tenth off, like Vettel was, I think, at Brazil. And don't be surprised if Ferrari do end up getting pole position. I wouldn't be surprised at all. They definitely do have the pace to do so. And I'm looking forward again to this pole position shootout. And the third team, of course, is Red Bull. Now, when it comes to qualifying pace, and Christian Horner said it after practice 3 on Sky F1, realistically, it's only going to be P5 and P6. They just don't have the qualifying boost power, I guess you could say, to compete with the top 2 teams. So Red Bull most likely going to be in 5th and 6th, but as long as they get at least that, I don't think Red Bull will mind that too much, because after looking at the Friday race pace when they did their race simulations, Red Bull do have the best car when it comes to race pace. And definitely a lot faster than Mercedes for sure. I think with Ferrari it's a bit closer, but definitely compared to Mercedes, Red Bull have a lot faster of a car. But when it comes to Daniel Ricciardo, he did have another reliability issue in practice 3. Now it was just the water pressure, I believe, on Ricciardo's car. That shouldn't be a massive issue. I think they're going to get that fixed in time for qualifying. We'll have to see, but that's not a good sign because, you know, this is his last race for Red Bull, and I think the last thing we want is his car to fail. That's the last thing we want. So hopefully Daniel Ricciardo does not have some kind of failure in qualifying or the race. But guys, what do you think about those top 3 teams? For Mercedes, do you think they will get pole position? And for Ferrari, do you think the same with them as well? And for Red Bull, do you think they can qualify higher than 5th and 6th? Do you think they have the pace to? Or do you think that they're going to be starting the 2018 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix on Sunday from the 3rd row? Make sure to put your comments in the chat, guys, and I will read it out over the next few minutes. Right, let me take a look what you guys have to say. Great to see you all here as always. Right, so Warren M says Raikkonen pole and the race win. Raikkonen has been very fast this weekend. Very fast. He's been faster than Vettel, but I get a feeling with Vettel that when it comes to Q3, he will produce just that little more than Kimi. Warren M also says Red Bull look like they can once stop using the 2 softest compounds, so they'll be right in the race again. Yep, they will. In the race, it'll be a hyper soft to ultra soft strategy for them, and everyone else, I think, will be doing hyper soft to super soft or ultra soft to super soft. So, yep, that is true. Right, I'm just looking through the chat. Hello to Prussia. Hello to Halam899. Nathan asks, any chance of Bottas to get his first win? There is actually a good chance of that. There is. Bottas yesterday was very quick. Now, in practice 3, he wasn't really that quick at all. But I think we can't really read that much into practice 3 because you have to remember, because qualifying and the race is held kind of half in the day and half at night, the conditions in practice 3 and also practice 1 don't really, you know what I mean, those sessions don't really matter because of the conditions. So I don't think you can read too much into where Bottas was in practice 1 and practice 3. I think practice 2, that's where you have to kind of base your predictions off, because those are the most representative conditions we have had so far. So, you know, Bottas in practice 2, he was fastest, of course, and was very quick, quarter of a second ahead of his teammate. He definitely does have a good chance of a win. He definitely does. This is a good Valtteri Bottas track. Prussia says, I just want a good qualifying. We all do. You know, it'd be great to have a final good qualifying of the season. As long as, for me, we get a close battle for pole, then, you know, that's enough for me. I'm looking forward more to the race because I think because the Red Bulls are so good on their tyres and because of the possible, you know, strategy that could present itself on Sunday, I think the race is definitely more interesting than qualifying for sure. But you never know. Something surprising could happen. I think it's Bence in the chat saying, unfortunately, Mercedes will take an easy 1-2. I'm not going to reveal my predictions just yet, but I will say I don't think that will be the case. I don't think it's going to be an easy 1-2. Ferrari are definitely there to get pole position. There's no doubt about it. They're definitely close enough to do so. And Vettel, as I'm sure you guys know, is very good at this track. So is Lewis Hamilton, but so is Sebastian Vettel. Rishab Jane, is Ocon better than Bottas? I think he is, but I don't think Ocon should be put into the Mercedes ahead of Bottas, because I don't think Ocon has done enough to earn that seat. He hasn't done what he needed to do in 2018, or at least so far. In 2018, what he had to do to kind of confirm it was get a podium, which his teammate got, but he didn't, and beat Perez. And right now, Esteban Ocon is about 9 points behind Sergio Perez. So Ocon just hasn't done enough to get a Mercedes seat for me. That's for 2020 as well. I don't see how Ocon can get a seat at Mercedes for 2020, especially if Valtteri Bottas does what is required of him in 2019. Simon Craglan, great to see him. Mercedes seems very fast. I predict Mercedes will take pole. Okay, 2 days ago was my birthday. That's from Prussia. Well, happy birthday to you, even though it's late. Just looking at some more comments here. Warren M says, for all the grief they have, or they've given them, that Renault engine has been good enough with the Red Bull Aero to have won the last 5 races of the season. True, I see your point, but at the end of the day, if they had a power unit which was better in terms of getting them off the 3rd row of the grid and getting them onto the 2nd row of the grid, then it might have been a lot more of a guarantee. The thing with Red Bull is, if they could start the races from the front row or the 2nd row, Red Bull would be always up there going for the race win because their race pace is so good. But because a lot of the time they're on the 3rd row, they're too far back to do anything. And then they end up just getting a podium instead of what could be a race victory. Hallam 899, but Ocon is the perfect wingman. Let's not get into that. Bence, I think Mercedes is just too fast in the last sector, so that's why I think Mercedes easy 1-2. I see your point, but again, you have Sector 1 and Sector 2, and Ferrari do look, I'd say, maybe not faster in Sector 1, but definitely Sector 2, that Ferrari is very, very quick, so you can't count Ferrari out of it. I know, again, the last sector, Mercedes are looking good, but I don't think it's going to mean everything in qualifying. Rishab Jain, Ferrari are quickest in Sector 1, and Ferrari and Mercedes are even in Sector 2, and Red Bull is fastest in Sector 3. I didn't look specifically at the sector times of practice 3, but I do know that Ferrari, in the first 2 sectors, were doing a lot better than they were in the final sector. But again, I think there's still more to come from Ferrari. Hallam 899, Sauber will beat Force India. We'll see. Prussia, Red Bull has so little drag, and also says I'm now 18 years old, so I could finally enter F1. Yep, that's true. You can. Right, let me just look at some final comments if I can find any. Hallam899 saying Bottas is a average driver anyway. I don't think he is. I think Bottas is better than maybe some of you guys give him credit for. Valtteri, you know, you have to remember, he should have 3 race wins this season. And I think people would look a lot differently at him if he did have those race wins that he did deserve to get. That's China, Baku and Russia. If he won those races, well, if he won China and Baku, he probably would have been allowed to win in Russia. So, yeah, if he had those race wins, I think you guys wouldn't be looking upon him maybe in, I wouldn't say such a negative light, but in a more negative way. Ultraman Nexus saying he doesn't have TV currently. That's a bit of a problem, but don't worry, I will be covering qualifying as always. Simon Cragland, it's difficult really to expect Ocon getting a podium, but yeah, he could have got a podium in Baku, but I don't think you can demand Ocon getting a podium before moving to Mercedes. I think you can demand that, because at the end of the day, if you want to drive for the best team in F1, which Mercedes are, you have to put in outstanding performances and you need to wow them. And Ocon hasn't wowed with his performances. He's done well and he has impressed, but it's never been a wow-like performance like Charles Leclerc has done this season, or like Sergio Perez has done in the past few seasons. So I think you can. I think you can. You know, if he was that good of a driver, then he would have ended up getting that podium in Baku. And I know he had the contact with Kimi Raikkonen, but looking back at that, I know at the time I think I said it was Raikkonen's fault, but looking back, I do think Ocon kind of contributed to it as well. So yeah. Right. And he also, oh no, Simon Troop says, do you think the tyres will go off early in the race? I think they will not go off early in the race, but they say, I don't know, 15 laps in, they'll start to go off. Because obviously in Abu Dhabi, as the race goes on, the temperature gets lower. Right. And, right, I'll read this final comment from Ultraman Nexus. Why Hamilton didn't get investigated for reversing and crossing the white line just like Kimi did. Hamilton did get investigated. He had to go see the stewards and they gave him a reprimand again. So don't worry, they did investigate it. And I think they have with Kimi when Kimi cut the pit lane exit this morning. So don't worry, they have. But yeah, that is the decision they have come to. But we'll move on from the top three and now go on, guys, to our midfield and start off with McLaren. Now, McLaren to me look better than I thought they would be. I thought they'd be right at the back of Williams, if not slower than Williams. But to me, they look faster than Williams, and they could get a car, probably Fernando Alonso, let's be honest, into Q2. I don't think they have an absolute Scooby-Doo of getting into Q3, but yeah, I think McLaren, again, they're slow. They're nowhere near where they should be at this point of the season. Still poor. Even though they are looking better than expected, it is still poor from McLaren's point of view. Next up is Renault. Renault also looking better than expected. Now, again, in practice 1 and practice 3, if you look at those results, Renault look as though they are right up there. But then when it comes to practice 2, the more representative conditions, Renault, to me, look as though they have, at best, say the 5th fastest car, and at worst, probably the 6th or 7th fastest car. And that is better, again, than I expected. I didn't think Renault would be this competitive. And it is nice to see that Renault are having a good final race because, you know, since the summer break has been tough for Renault because a lot of the races, you know, the tracks haven't suited their car. I know, you know, they were great at COTA and in Mexico, but at other races they just weren't really that good at all. So it is good to see Renault having a final good race of 2018 as they are heading towards a deserved 4th place finish in the Constructors. And we'll go on to Force India. Force India, to me, look as though they have, say, the 6th or 7th fastest car. I'm not quite sure if they can get into the top 10 with one of their cars. I'm not sure. It's going to be very close between them, one of the Renaults, Toro Rosso, maybe the Sauber of Charles Leclerc. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'm not too sure if Force India can get into the top 10. But there is an issue for Esteban Ocon, the man we were talking about just a moment ago. Esteban Ocon, I believe at the end of practice 3, had a power unit issue. Now, I don't know if he will have to take some kind of penalty for that. I don't know. But that's what happened towards the end of practice 3. Hopefully he can get out on the track. I think he should be able to, but Again, I don't know if he's going to take a penalty or not. I have no idea. Hopefully, he can. But yeah, Force India pace-wise don't look that good. And to be honest, they look about where I thought they would be, on the edges of the top 10. Not really getting near the front of the midfield. They just don't have a fast enough car to do so. But guys, what do you think about those three teams from McLaren? Can they get a car into Q2? For Renault, do you think they can get both cars into Q3? And for Force India, where do you think they are going to end up compared to, say, Sauber? Who, of course, Sauber are 6 points behind in 8th place in the Constructors, trying to take 7th away from Force India. Make sure to put your comments in the chat, and I will read it out in a moment. Right, let me just take a look at what you guys are saying about those teams. Simon Troop, Alonso will get into Q2. Yeah, I think that is a possibility, but I wouldn't predict it because we know with McLaren that they can disappoint a lot. Rishabh Jain, Sainz was running P7 last year before he retired. I'll be honest, I don't think last year really means anything now because the team order in terms of the running order has just, it's changed quite a lot. Just look at Sauber, for example. Francisco doesn't see Sauber challenging Force India. I think you may be surprised with what Charles Leclerc can do. So, we'll see. Hallam899 asks, what do you think is Ocon's potential? His potential, he definitely has the potential to be a race-winning driver and a very good driver, but I don't know. I don't know if he can win a title or not. I think Ocon is kind of in a, I don't know, one of those, I guess, Rubens Barrichello or David Coulthard situations. And what I mean by that is, you know, when Barrichello and Coulthard, who were great drivers, you know, when they were young and coming through the formulas, once they got into F1, the competition was too strong for them to be able to actually go and win a championship. And I think Ocon is going to kind of be in a similar situation. I think Ocon is kind of, he's very talented, but he's not talented enough for the, you know, this current generation he is currently in. Because, you know, Verstappen and Charles Leclerc are better than him, in my opinion. Leclerc's going to Ferrari. The Ferrari is very fast. The Red Bull could be getting very quick. In 2019 and beyond, what's going to happen to Ocon? I don't know. I don't see Ocon going to Mercedes in 2020. I don't see it. I think Mercedes, if they put Ocon in that car, it will be for 2021 at the earliest. I don't see it happening for 2020. And I'll be honest with Ocon, I just don't see how he can ever win a championship. I've seen people saying that, you know, they want him in the car because he's their next Lewis Hamilton, which is blasphemous because talent-wise, Ocon is nowhere near Lewis Hamilton. And, well, if Ocon can win half of what Lewis Hamilton has, not only in Lewis's career, but just at Mercedes, then that'll be a great career for Ocon because, again, he's nowhere near as good as Lewis, I think, in terms of talent. But, yeah, again, I think what's going to happen with Ocon is, even if he does get into a very fast car, he's kind of a victim of his own generation in terms of there are better drivers in this great generation of drivers he's a part of, such as Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Pierre Gasly. I don't think Gasly is better, but, you know, he's still in that generation. You have Norris and Russell as well. I think he just, I don't know, he just doesn't have enough compared to Verstappen and Leclerc. If he came around Ocon, say, around the time Kubica and Hamilton came through, I think Ocon would have had a better career in terms of his path. Because I don't think that generation was as talented as, say, the Verstappen, Leclerc, Ocon, Gasly generation right now. But, yeah, I think he's kind of in a rock and a hard place with the generation of drivers he's a part of. Right, I think I've gone on a bit too long about that. Let me just read some of your comments that I've missed. Ultraman Nexus, what happened to Lewis's racing number? Lewis, he changed it to number 1 for practice 1, but then he's gone back to number 44. Right, let me just look through the chat. He also asked, Halam899, is George Russell ahead of Ocon? I think Russell is a lot more talented than people think. I think people underrate Russell quite a lot, to be honest. I don't know if he's better than Ocon, but I think he definitely has the potential to be better than Ocon for sure. Thoughts about Van Dorn being a Mercedes simulator driver? Good for both, I think, because Van Dorn puts himself in a team that, I mean, they're never going to select him as a race driver, but, you know, if Mercedes end up maybe not acquiring a team, but financially helping out another team, say like a Williams in the future, maybe Van Dorn can come back into F1 that way. But yeah, it's good for both. I think it's good for Mercedes as well because they have a good, I think, F1 driver helping them out. So yeah, it's a good thing. Right, let me just look through the these comments. I'll read out one more and then I will move on to the rest of the midfield. By the way, guys, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We're going to be doing this for every race weekend in 2019, so don't forget to subscribe. Either bottom right of the screen, you can subscribe there, or click on my channel name and go to my channel page, and you can sub to the channel. And don't forget as well to hit the notifications bell. Right, the final comment I'll read before I go on to the rest of the midfield is from Simon Troop. What changes do you want to see at, I think he says Sky Sports F1, let me just, yeah, he did, at Sky Sports F1 next year. I'd like to see plenty of things, but they're never going to happen. I'd like to see David Croft gone. That's not going to happen. I don't like Johnny Herbert. I think he's way too silly for that role. You know, you can have a laugh, of course, here or there, you need to. But it's like he's deliberately just being silly all the time. And, yeah, he kind of, I don't know, annoys me with that. But, yeah, I'd like to see him go. But I won't make too many changes. I think Sky F1 are very good at what they do. Maybe not as good as Channel 4 here in the UK. I don't watch Channel 4, so I wouldn't know. I only watch Sky F1, but yeah, there you go. Anyway, we'll move on to the rest of the midfield. First off, Williams. Nothing really to talk about. They are the slowest this weekend, as they're looking for a peaceful and quiet and, well, most likely miserable end to 2018. Next up, Toro Rosso. Toro Rosso are looking about where I thought they would be. They're close enough to possibly go for the top 10 to try and get into Q3 with one of their cars, but I don't think they have quite enough to do so. I just don't think they have enough there to get into the top 10. I hope they do. And I think definitely they are a team you've got to keep your eye on, which I'll get onto in a moment. But yeah, I think Toro Rosso, they're close, but maybe, we'll have to see, you never know, maybe they're just not close enough to get into Q3. Next up is Haas, and, well, pace-wise, Haas look as though, if Kevin Magnussen steps up his game, they look as though they have the best car in the midfield. Romain Grosjean has consistently been in practice 2 and practice 3 at the front of that midfield battle and is looking good for a a strong qualifying position. For Haas, they're not going to finish fourth in the constructors anymore because Renault are too far ahead. So it's kind of just for Haas, it's just go out there, go for it, and see what happens. Because again, they have nothing really to lose this weekend. And by the way, guys, when it comes to that Force India protest, Force India have been cleared of any wrongdoing, which is, I think, right, because, well, one, it's a grey area, this rule that Haas were protesting about, and also Haas are guilty of the same thing, technically. So, yeah, it was a stupid protest. Haas is so hypocritical. I think I replied to someone on Twitter, it might have been the F1 word on Twitter, I think I did this comparison. It's like Lance Armstrong in cycling complaining that someone else is doping. You can't complain if you're guilty of the same thing. You can't protest. You know what I mean? It's so hypocritical. And even there was Otmar Safnauer came out this morning and said that it was very hypocritical of Haas to be complaining about this issue. But we'll move on to Sauber last of all. I will say, in practice 3, Sauber, they were not as quick as maybe I thought they would be. Again, the conditions in practice 3 are not totally representative, but again, I thought they would be a bit closer to the top 10. Charles Leclerc did take his rear wing off in practice 3, backed it into the wall at turn, I want to say 17 or 18. In the last sector, backed into the wall, took his rear wing off, but did get out for some final laps at the end of practice 3. So he could have gone quicker, I think, Leclerc. So don't count him out. But yes, Sauber maybe not looking as quick as I thought they would be. And again, as I said for my practice review, this picture is so good. So good. And as I said yesterday, also, Abu Dhabi is probably the best track on the calendar for pictures when it comes to taking pictures of the cars. But guys, what do you think about those midfield teams? Let's forget about Williams, let's be honest. They're not going to be anywhere near the 14th or 15th place or anything like that. I'm getting out of Q2. For Toro Rosso, can they get a car into Q3? For Haas, what do you think about the protest being, I guess, rejected? And do you think Haas have the best car this weekend in the midfield? And for Sauber, do you think Charles Leclerc will surprise us once again and wow us with another great qualifying performance? Put in the chat right now and I will read it out. Right, let me take a look. Ultraman Nexus, I'm going to have to delete that because, yeah, you can't post that. I'm sorry. You can't post live stream links. We're very strict on that, so please don't post that. Right. Say Regara says Charles Leclerc for driver of the year. I wouldn't say so. I don't think we can say that because, again, we don't know how good he would be in a Ferrari. Hopefully, in 2019, we will find an answer to that. Hello to Ronan Brady. Great to see him. As, by the way, guys, we are about 25 minutes away from the start of qualifying. So don't worry, we are coming up to the qualifying session. The final qualifying of 2018. Andrew Drury, what was Grosjean doing at the end of FP3? Yep. I don't know. Basically, guys, if you don't know, Grosjean, I don't know what corner it was, but was on the racing line coming down into this heavy braking zone. Pierre Gasly wanted the racing line. Grosjean was on it, and then basically Grosjean held him up, and Gasly did make contact with him. But I think Grosjean was very stupid in what he did. If you're not in a flying lap, and I said this at Brazil with the whole Lewis Hamilton stuff, if you're not on a flying lap, you have to get off the racing line because you have to, please realise, as a driver, that there are other people out there on a lap trying to to set a lap time. So you cannot just stay on the racing line and be very greedy about it. If you're not on a flying lap, get off the racing line. Simple as that. It's not a hard concept to, you know, to fathom. If you're not on a flying lap, get off the racing line. Simple as that. Hallam 899, Gasly, how many podiums do you think Gasly will get next season? I have no idea about Gasly. I have no idea. I don't know if he's going to perform well enough, and I also don't know if the Red Bull car will be better. We'll have to see. I don't know right now. Harry asks, who topped final practice? I missed it. Lewis Hamilton was top, from Kimi Raikkonen second, Vettel third, and then Verstappen fourth, Bottas fifth, and then Daniel Ricciardo in P6. Rona Brady says 5 podiums. Okay. Right. Let me just look for some more comments before I move on to, guys, my one to watch for qualifying here today at Abu Dhabi. Simon Troop, do you think Gasly will beat Max in a race next season? Yeah, he definitely will. I think Max is definitely better than Max, but Gasly will beat him in a race. At least one, probably 3 or 4 in 2019. But yeah, Max, I think at least 75% of the season, Max is going to be beating Gasly hand over fist, I think. I just think Gasly cannot match the speed and the raw talent of Max Verstappen, I'm afraid. Regara says Hamilton or Vettel. I don't know what you're asking there. Maybe who's going to be on pole, or or what you're asking me if I think who's better. I don't know. You'll have to clarify. Rona Brady, Gasly really doesn't convince you, does he? No, he doesn't. He doesn't. I've never been fully convinced by him. I wasn't convinced by him when he came to F1 the end of last season. I wasn't convinced coming into 2018. He definitely has. With some of his performances, he has convinced me quite a bit. But I'm still not sure about the guy. He does come across to me as a person who is good and on form, you know, 1 in every 3 races. He's not a consistently always up there getting the best out of himself and the car type of driver. Just look at this season for Toro Rosso. You know, he had the 4th place in Bahrain, and then I think 2 races after, he couldn't get in the top 10. So, yeah. Rishabh Jain, can Williams and McLaren regain their ground in 2019? I don't think they will. I don't think they will. Call me pessimistic, but I don't think they will. Great to see Niblo in the chat saying Red Bull starting up for the race again. Yeah, Red Bull, I don't think they really care about whether they beat Mercedes or Ferrari. As long as they line up on the 3rd row of the grid, I don't think Red Bull really care about qualifying. It's all about the race for them. And if you did see some of the lap time difference from the race simulations yesterday, Red Bull had the fastest car, Ferrari had the 2nd fastest car, and then Mercedes were 3rd fastest, with Renault only just behind them. So I don't know if Renault were running lighter fuel, but yeah, I will say Mercedes and their race pace was really worrying, to be honest. But I will also say, and I should have mentioned this earlier, Ted Kravitz said earlier that Mercedes have put their rear wheel spacers on, so they are using that upgraded wheel rim they brought from the summer break and stopped using from the US Grand Prix onwards because they thought Ferrari were going to protest. I'm pretty sure that Ted Kravitz said they're using it. I'm pretty sure he said that. So that should help Mercedes a lot for the Grand Prix. And I think they're using it because it's going to help them a lot. Hello to, I think is it Keriki? Sorry if I've absolutely butchered your name. Hello to Ben McCarthy. Great to see you guys coming along. When does Q1 start? Q1 starts in 20 minutes time. And with 20 minutes to go, Simon Troop just asking, what was your best qualifying session of 2018? For me, it was either Spa or Canada. For me, Canada was so exciting. So exciting. I'd probably say Canada. Yeah, I'm going to go Canada. But, yeah, with 20 minutes to go until qualifying, I think now we'll move on from the teams and now go on to, guys, my one to watch in qualifying today. And also make sure that in the chat right now and in the comments, you put in your one to watch going into qualifying. And mine is Pierre Gasly in the Toro Rosso. The reason is because yesterday he was P11 in both sessions. The reason he was quite low down in practice 3 was because I think of what Romain Grosjean did at the end of that session and held Gasly up on a good lap. So I think Gasly would have improved. And I think you do have to watch out for Pierre Gasly. He could, if he just gets a little more out of the car and Honda can turn it up, you know, a lot more than Renault, which I think they can, because I think Honda do have a more powerful party qualifying mode. If they can, you know, get the absolute best out of the car and Gasly can get the best out of himself, I wouldn't be massively surprised if Gasly ended up in the top 10. He's definitely close enough to do some damage. He could, you know, knock out a Renault of, you know, Sainz or Hülkenberg, or he could knock out Force India. You definitely, for me, have to watch out for Pierre Gasly. But guys, who is your one to watch? Is it Gasly? Is it Grosjean? One of the Renaults? Charles Leclerc? Who else? Maybe Esteban Ocon, or just, you know, a Force India driver. Who is your one to watch in qualifying today? Put in the chat right now and I'll read out as many as I can. Right, let me take a look. So, Rishabh Jain says Carlos Sainz. I understand why, because Sainz so far this weekend has looked pretty good. Scuderia D says mine is Fernando Alonso. If he had a better car, then maybe I could say him, but I don't think the car's good enough for him to do anything really amazing. Ben McCarthy says Hülkenberg. Yep, he is as well. Simon Cragland, of course, says Kevin Magnussen. Alonso is the one to watch, according to Say Rugara. Rishabh Jain says Magnussen. Ronan Brady agrees with me and says Gasly. Nathan says Gasly or Leclerc. Harry says Ocon. Hassan786 says Ocon. Francisco says Kimi Raikkonen, or says the Iceman. Just looking at some more. Hallam899, if Lewis Hamilton was in a Ferrari, he would have won the championship by 100 points easily. Maybe. I don't want to speculate too much on that, but I think he would have won the title again, for sure. Andrew Drury says Bottas. Hülkenberg to do something special, according to Tonka Toy Truck. Hallam899 says Kimi. Scuderia D says, wait guys, Alonso's greatest competitors are... I'm not going to read that. Let me just look at any more. One to watch in... Or ones to watch, sorry, in qualifying. Just seeing if I haven't missed any. Kevin Magnussen, I've already read that. I thought you guys might have heard that. Yeah, one of my cats is going crazy outside my door, but let's please ignore that. He's going absolutely crazy, but yeah. Adam, is Leclerc faster than Max? I don't know. We'll have to see next year. I think next year we'll get a much better idea. Niblo says Hartley. When was the last time McLaren got to Q3? That's from Halam899. I can't remember when Fernando or when McLaren got to Q3 last. Was it the Spanish Grand Prix or Monaco Grand Prix? I can't remember when it was. I can't remember. But it definitely was around Spain or Monaco the last time they got to Q3. I don't think they did before that. Did they do it for Hungary? No, they didn't. I remember Alonso had a poor qualifying, even in the wet. Yeah, I think it was... I think it was Monaco. But anyway, move on to the one to watch. And now go on, guys, to my predictions for qualifying today. Now, I have to stress this. These predictions were done last night after practice 2. So, just don't rip me to shreds if these end up being totally wrong. But this is what I'm going for. Make sure to put yours in the chat as well. So, on pole position, I'm going to go for Sebastian Vettel. The reason is because Vettel in Abu Dhabi, when it comes to qualifying, normally he is very good. I think the Ferrari car will have the pace to get pole. I think they have plenty more to turn up on that car. And yeah, I think Ferrari are going to be very strong. I don't think Ferrari will have clearly the fastest car in qualifying, but I think they'll have a fast enough car with Sebastian Vettel to get pole position. And then in second place is, for me, going to be Valtteri Bottas. Now, the reason I'm going Bottas is because in the more representative practice 2 yesterday, Bottas was clearly faster than Lewis Hamilton by about a quarter of a second. And I think Bottas, because this track is a good track for him, I think he will be ahead of Lewis Hamilton. If you just look at tracks this season where, you know, those tracks suit Bottas better than other tracks such as Russia and Austria, he has been ahead of Lewis Hamilton in qualifying, which he was kind of expected to do. So, yeah, I think Valtteri Bottas will be on the front row of the grid, but not on pole position. And in third place, I'm going to go with Lewis Hamilton. Even though I think Bottas will out-qualify Hamilton, it will still be very close for me. It will still be very close. I think there is a possibility that Hamilton can get pole, but I just think the Ferrari of Vettel will be just too fast. We've said that plenty of times and Lewis Hamilton has proved us wrong, but I think it'll be just too fast, and I think Bottas is better around this track. But guys, what do you think is going to happen in qualifying today? Who is going to take pole? Who's going to be on the front row? Who's going to be in third place? 4th, 5th, 6th, the rest of the top 10. What do you think is going to happen in qualifying today? Make sure in the next, how many minutes left? About 10 minutes. Make sure in the chat right now to put in your predictions for qualifying within the next 10 minutes. And I will try to read out as many as I can. But before I do, I just need to let you guys know that if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We're going to be doing this every race weekend in 2019, so don't forget to subscribe on the bottom right of the screen. You can do it there, or click on my channel name and go to my channel page and subscribe to the channel over there. And also, like this video, comment down below what you thought of this video and what did you think of qualifying. Of course, you guys, if you're watching this now, would have seen qualifying. As well, don't forget to join my Discord server. The best place to get notifications for my videos is the Discord server. You have to get in there if you want the notifications for my videos. That's at the bottom of the description. And then also, follow me on Twitter at Chaz6110. Another great place to keep up to date with me and what is going on with me and the channel, and check out chazerhd.com, also in the description. Another great place to keep up to date with me and my channel. Right, let's scroll to the top of this of these predictions and read out as many as we can. Right, let me take a look. Right, Adam, I think it's Ahmed, says, with equal machinery, Vettel can't beat Lewis over one lap. Yeah, I agree with that, but they're not an equal machinery. Right, I'll start with Ben McCarthy. So, he thinks it will be Bottas on pole, Vettel second and Verstappen third. This is going to go wrong badly. Yeah, I think it will. I think it will. I don't see that happening at all, but you never know. If Lewis Hamilton has a reliability issue, which he could have because he still has the power unit that he had for Brazil, which was about to fail for a long time in that race. So, you never know. Right, Ronan Brady, I think Hamilton will get pole. I think the Ferrari is not as fast as we think. I hope for Vettel, though. I hope Vettel gets up there because I want to see, you know, Ferrari actually produce for once. They haven't done it in so long. Just please, Ferrari, produce the goods when it comes to qualifying. The last time they did was the home race. Right, say Rugara, Verstappen pole. No chance. The Red Bull, when it comes to qualifying, is not going to be anywhere near pole position. The best they can hope for is one of the top four making a mistake and then Verstappen starting in fourth. I don't see how they have any realistic chance of getting pole position. Ultraman Nexus says Mercedes pole and win probably. Simon Cragland says Lewis. Adam Ahmed says Lewis on pole, Vettel second, Kimi third, Max fourth, Bottas fifth. Okay, so you're going for the same basically top five as practice 3 except swap Vettel for Kimi. Okay, Halam899 of course says Kimi pole and Kimi win. Simon Trope, Hamilton on pole, Kimi second, Vettel third, Bottas fourth, Ricciardo fifth, and Verstappen sixth. Interesting. I don't think Ricciardo will out-qualify Max, but again, you don't know. You don't know. Anything can happen. Simon Cragland, how do you think Lewis this season has been if Rosberg was still his teammate in 2017 and 2018? I'm not going to comment any further on that because I have something coming up on that. Legion, Mercedes have been going off the pace recently, so I think either a Ferrari 1-2 with Vettel at the front. Simon Cragland, Lewis, Bottas, Vettel. Nathan, did you hear Vettel complaining he needs a faster car for next year? No, I didn't. But if that's what you said, then I'm sorry. You've had a fast enough car to win the championship for the last 2 years, and you have contributed to your own downfall. So that's absolute rubbish. Hello to Ark Invader. Right, let me just look for some more as I scroll down. Simon Troop for the rest of the top 10 says Leclerc, K-Mag, Gasly and Ocon. That's an interesting final few positions. I don't think it will be that. I think it'll probably be Grosjean. I don't know which order, but I think the rest of the top 10 will be Grosjean, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, and after that, I don't know. I don't know. Ben McCarthy, if Lewis doesn't get pole, it will only be the 4th season in his career he didn't get more poles than wins. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Say Rugara, who's better, Hamilton or Vettel? Lewis Hamilton. This season and last season has proven that, and I think anyone who, you know, can't look at what's happened over the last 2 years as evidence for who is better, if they can't look at that and come to what is probably the correct conclusion, then I don't know what to say. Of course, they're entitled to their opinion, but I think it's pretty clear now who is the better driver, because again, the last 2 years have proven that. Right, hold on, I've just forgot. Normally I do this, don't I? Move on to some pictures. There you go. There's a Mercedes. Just looking. Simon Cragland. Yeah, we should do a best of the rest prediction. Maybe for next year I'll do that. But for now, yeah, I obviously can't do anything about it, really. Let's hope for a Kimi pole. That's from Francisco. Simon Cragland, Magnussen, Grosjean, Hulkenberg and Ocon is my prediction. That looks very possible. That's probably the most likely rest of the top 10. But again, that last place, I think, is between kind of like Gasly, Ocon, Perez, Sainz, Leclerc. So it's hard to predict, but I think the 7th, 8th and 9th is probably going to be the 2 Haas's and Hulkenberg. But again, we don't know. Right. Let me just cut to another image. There you go. The Ferrari of Kimi Raikkonen. Roberto says Lewis Hamilton to get pole position. Wouldn't be surprised if we did, because as we've seen in 2018, when it matters, Lewis comes up with a great lap, or you know a great overtake or something, that is required. When it matters most, and Vettel is kind of the opposite. Arkinvider says Vettel. Sergio Fernando Alonso on pole as a giant storm happens. Right, let me just cut to this picture as well of the Red Bull, as I will load up my Twitter ready for the start of this session. By the way, guys, if you are not familiar with my watch-alongs, basically what I do is, because I can't show live coverage of the session for obvious copyright issues, what I do is I throw up as many pictures on the screen as I can of what is going on, whilst I provide a radio commentary, I guess, of the qualifying, or for the the race, when we do the race watch along. So if you aren't into the channel, then that is what we do here. Right, just get things ready. Hopefully you guys are ready. Qualifying starts in 2 minutes. This hour build-up has flown by. Got through that very, very quickly, it seems. But yeah, we're only 2 minutes away from the start of qualifying. Francisco, bye Chaz, I'm going to watch qualifying. No problem. Hopefully you do enjoy it. Adam Ahmed, in your opinion, who is the fastest driver ever? For me, it is Ayrton Senna. He is the fastest driver I think I've ever seen. Even though I didn't watch him, of course, because I'm not old enough to have ever seen him. In terms of raw speed compared to who he was racing against, he was insanely quick. Insanely quick. Yeah, good morning to you, Tonka Toy Truck, who is watching from Texas. Of course, where we have the US Grand Prix. Ultraman Nexus says, or asks, who is your driver of the year? For me, it's Lewis Hamilton. Because he's been the best driver, the fastest, the most consistent. Has to be Lewis Hamilton for me. But I don't know if I should announce this now, but you know what, I might as well. Sometime, probably closer to Christmas, sometime during December, guys, I am going to do a video, which is kind of like an awards, like end of season, Chazza HD, F1 2018 season awards. And I am going to do stuff like best driver, you know, best overtake, worst driver, best performance, worst performance, you know, stuff like that. And you guys will have a chance to vote on these things, and I will announce the results of that in that video. So I'll probably do a poll for that like a week before the video goes up. So yeah, that's the plan. Again, I don't know exactly when I'm going to upload that video, but it's probably going to be, I would say, in between Christmas and New Year. Say around the 27th or 8th, and it's something like that. Anyway, enough of that, enough of Christmas. Let's watch qualifying as Fernando Alonso is out on track. Q1 is underway. Who will, first off, get knocked out in Q1? For me, it'd have to be, if I was to predict it right now, the two Williamses, Stoffel Van Dorn, probably Marcus Ericsson, and maybe Fernando Alonso as well. We'll have to see. But yeah, I think most of the people getting knocked out in Q1 is not really going to be a surprise at all. Right, so as you've got Force India in the pit still, you've got the two Ferraris, the Mercedes, the Red Bulls. So the cars out on track and now going around the track on that outlap is the two Toro Rossos, the two Saubers, the two McLarens, and the two Williamses right now. So let's see what happens on these first runs of Q1. Who is the first to come across the line? As Kimi Raikkonen now comes out onto the track, and I assume Vettel will be out as well very soon. As I think, who's that ahead? Is that Charles Leclerc? I think. I'm trying to see who it. I think Brendan Hartley might be the first around, but I don't know. They're not really showing who's the first out there. But yes, Sauber goes across the line, and now Fernando Alonso starts his first lap in his final qualifying session, most likely of his F1 career. Now comes through turns number 2, the fast, turn 3, now into 4, and down at the end of the first sector in turn 5, and now it comes through the chicane, which should not exist because it does hurt the racing. And now Fernando Alonso gets a bit wide, I think, there on the exit, but maintained, I think, good traction. And now comes down the pit straight. Or not the pit straight, the first long straight. Into the first slow chicane, turns 8 and 9. And now goes on to the second long straight and the second DRS straight. Coming up to the second chicane. And does a 59.7 for the middle sector. Now, the final sector is where the McLaren should be better. But again, the aero on this car is still quite poor. So don't expect miracles from Fernando Alonso. As Raikkonen and Vettel now on their outlaps. Where will Alonso end up after the first runs of Q1? As Alonso got a bit out of shape there. And now comes through as Charles Leclerc does the first lap time, a 1:38.9. Alonso does a 39.6. He's miles off the Sauber, and that just shows you why 2018 has been so embarrassing for McLaren. They were way ahead of Sauber at the first race, as Pierre Gasly now goes fastest. Yeah, they were way faster than Sauber at the first race. Now, the last race, Sauber are way faster than them. Very embarrassing. As Kimi Raikkonen is now on his first lap, and he will go fastest inevitably with this, as we currently have a Toro Rosso 1-2. Gasly from Hartley, and only 0.06 of a second separating the two Toro Rossos. Right, let me just, there you go, put this on the screen. Fernando Alonso in his final Let me just adjust that if I can. In his final ever qualifying session, and is currently lying in 5th place as he continues to drop down the field. So, right, what's Raikkonen? So Raikkonen is going to do the fastest time here. I don't know if Vettel is going faster or not. I don't think Vettel is. So here comes Kimi Raikkonen, looking smooth. I don't think he's pushing to the absolute max right now, as he now comes across the line and does a 1 minute 37 flat. 1.6, or basically 1.7 seconds faster than Pierre Gasly. And Vettel was on an outlap. So, well, we'll see what Vettel can do now. Vettel comes into turn number 1. Looks good. Looks good through there. The Ferrari does look pretty good through those corners, and now comes into sector 1 and is half a tenth up on Kimi Raikkonen's first sector time, and now gets a good exit. Going down now the first long DRS straight, as the two Mercedes are now out on the track on their outlaps, as Vettel brakes now, and that Ferrari is definitely working its magic, I guess you could say, in the middle sector. That is the sector where Ferrari are the fastest. And now comes into the end of sector 2 and the end of the second DRS straight. He's actually slower than Raikkonen through there, so he's about, or just under a tenth slower than the Iceman. As Lewis Hamilton, I believe, has, and yes he has, Lewis Hamilton has started his lap. The two Red Bulls are now out on the track. And Vettel now comes through this tricky final sector. The Ferrari, oh, very close to the wall there with Sebastian Vettel. And gets very close to that sausage curb on the exit of the penultimate corner. Now comes across the line and does the fastest time of 1:36.9. So Sebastian Vettel fastest with 10 minutes to go in Q1 from Kimi Raikkonen. Ocon goes up to 3rd as Lewis Hamilton is now on his lap. Hamilton on the Hypersoft tyres. By the way, guys, I think the top teams will do or will be using the Hypersoft tyres for Q2, because there's too much of a difference between the Hypersoft and Ultrasoft at this track, and you can't risk being knocked out. And here comes Hamilton into the final part of the track. And he's got about 2 corners to go, and then he will come across the line. I think this might be fast enough for Lewis Hamilton. Now comes across the line. Nope, it's not. He does do the fastest final sector, but it is, how much is that? About, what's that? Just under a tenth behind Vettel, as Bottas now comes across the line and goes almost 4 tenths behind Vettel in 4th place. So Bottas not looking that great right now. Hopefully he produces when it comes to Q3. Where are the Red Bulls? By the way, I will read out the order very soon. I will make sure to read that out once we get all of the drivers setting a lap time, but not all of them have. We still have the 2 Red Bulls, the 2 Renaults and the 2 Haas's yet to set a lap time. So once they do, I'll read out the order with just under 9 minutes left in Q1 as Ricciardo starts his lap. And that Red Bull sparking away, so nice to see. The Red Bull, I think, is probably the best looking car on the grid. And he's already 3 tenths of a second down on Vettel in Sector 1. Just shows you how the Red Bull, in the first 2 sectors, as Ricciardo's now going to lose even more time in this sector, it shows you how the Red Bull in the first 2 sectors are so slow compared to Ferrari and Mercedes in qualifying trim. Ultraman Nexus, why did Pirelli choose the Hypersoft for this Grand Prix? Because last year we had tyres that were too hard, so they brought the softest compound, and for the right reasons. We want some interesting, things on strategy. We don't want a boring one-stop race with no tyre wear. As Ricciardo is 6/10 down on Vettel in the middle sector, Verstappen is going about a quarter of a second faster than Ricciardo so far on this lap, as we now come into the final sector for them. The final sector is the sector where Red Bull have the best car, whether that's qualifying or the race. We'll see what they do with the final sector, whether they go purple or not. I think they should, as Ricciardo now comes across the line and only a 10th down on Vettel, so quite good from Ricciardo. And Verstappen goes slower than Ricciardo, so must have made a mistake in that final sector. Does a 37.1. Right, we'll wait for the two Haas's, the two Renaults, and the Haas of Kevin Magnussen to complete their laps, and then I'll read out the order going into the final runs of Q1. I'll just post this on the screen. The two Ferraris there. As Vettel goes even faster on a 36.7. Hulkenberg goes up to P7. Sainz goes P9. So the Renaults are looking very quick. There you go. Those are your two Scuderia Ferraris. But yeah, the two Renaults, 7th and 9th. Grosjean is up to 8th. And Kevin Magnussen has only gone 15th. What's happened to K-Mag? 15th. That's very surprising. Very, very surprising. As Brendan Hartley now goes faster than Gasly and up to P11. So with 6 minutes to go in Q1, this is the order. Hold on, let me just see Van Dorn's lap through. So Van Dorn crosses a line and goes up to 18th. Ahead of the two Williamses. But the order, 6 minutes to go in Q1, is the two Ferraris, 1 and 2, and then Hamilton 3rd, Ricciardo 4th, Verstappen 5th, Bottas 6th, 7th is Hulkenberg, 8th is Grosjean, 9th is Sainz, 10th is Charles Leclerc, 11th is Hartley, 12th is Gasly, 13th Ocon, 14th Perez, Force India not looking good at all. And then 15th is Alonso, 16th Magnussen, 17th Ericsson, 18th is Van Dorn, 19th is Sergei Sorokin, and last is Lance Stroll. And we have 5 minutes to go until the end of Q1. As I think, is Hamilton going for another lap? I don't know. But out on the track right now is Vettel, Hamilton, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Sainz, Hartley and Alonso. I don't know if anyone in the drop zone is out on the track. But the drivers for me at risk are the two Force Indias and probably the two Toro Rossos and Fernando Alonso. They have to go out for another lap. I think if you're, Carlos Sainz, Hulkenberg or Grosjean, you don't have to go out and do another lap. As the two Red Bulls, at the minute, only 3 to 4 tenths of a second off. So hopefully it remains that way for the rest of qualifying, because that does show us that Red Bull will have a very fast race car. As Lewis Hamilton is on another lap, but is a quarter of a second down already after the first sector. I told you guys, I know it's not Q3 yet, but I told you guys, Ferrari will have a very fast car. And right now, they do. They absolutely do. As Lewis Hamilton is midway through the second sector. Jason Miller saying, come on Hartley. Hartley's doing well. P11. If he qualifies there, I think that'd be a good qualifying from Hartley. But we'll have to see if he does. Hamilton almost half a second down. after the first two sectors. And by the way, Lewis Hamilton is improving on his lap. This is a better lap for Hamilton, but he's half a second down on Vettel. The Mercedes does not look as good as the Ferrari right now, for sure. The Ferrari does look like the better car. See you later to Simon Troop. As Hamilton loses the back end a bit going into that corner. Now comes into the penultimate corner. Looks good. Final corner looks good as well. And comes across the line. And is only half a tenth off. So basically, as Bottas comes across and goes second, only 14 thousandths of a second off. So basically, in the first two sectors, the Mercedes is nowhere near the Ferrari. But then in the last sector, the Mercedes is... I don't know if it's the best in the final sector. It probably isn't. I think the Red Bull is. But it's definitely a lot better than the Ferrari. If Ferrari want pole, they have to improve that final sector. Because they've got the first two sectors on lockdown. As Magnussen lost... Did he lose a piece of his car then? Yeah, he did. Something from the floor, I think, of the Haas fell off as he went over a curb there. Ben McCarthy saying that Mercedes is definitely struggling with balance. Right now, the Mercedes does not look as good as I think some of you thought it would be. Of course, though, we do have quite a long time to go until the end of qualifying, where it all matters for Mercedes, as we are now 90 seconds away from the end of Q1, as Esteban Ocon now starts his final lap in the drop zone, and having to get out are the two Williamses of Sirotkin and Stroll, Stoffel Van Dorn, Marcus Ericsson and Kevin Magnussen. As Ocon, what does he do for his first sector? Quite good, actually. Only a 10th down. He's actually better in the first sector than Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. As Ocon now comes onto the first long DRS straight. Charles Leclerc actually does the fastest first sector of anyone in P10. That is quite amazing. Is the track ramping up in terms of grip? I don't know. But, so, Ocon on the second DRS straight now, going towards the second chicane at the end of a straight. Ocon does the fastest middle sector. I don't know if the track's ramping up or if the top teams are taking it easy, but Charles Leclerc, for example, right now, looks as though he could go fastest in the entire session. Leclerc's done the fastest first and second sectors of anyone in a Sauber. As Ocon now comes through the double left apex corners, now comes up to the penultimate corner, looks good, rides the sausage curb well, and now comes across the line and goes fourth, only a tenth and a half down. Charles Leclerc only goes P7, so of course, maybe not of course, but Sauber not working well in that final sector as Ericsson goes up to P11. He's done well there. Magnussen, 13th. Oh, I'm not sure that's going to be good enough. We'll have to see. Actually, I think it will. I think that is good enough from Magnussen. Here comes Sergei Sirotkin to the final corner. Sirotkin's been so slow this weekend, but goes 18th at the moment. Where will Lance Stroll go? Here comes Lance Stroll, and he goes 19th, so he's out-qualified by Sirotkin. Not good there by Stroll. Sergio Perez goes up to 9th. Gasly's in the drop zone. Gasly's got to do a lap here, and he is. And Gasly's out. Gasly made a mistake in the final sector. Gasly's in 16th. And Alonso gets through to Q2 as Hartley goes 16th. So both Toro Rossos out in Q1. And there you go. So out in Q1 is Brendan Hartley, Pierre Gasly, Stoffel Van Dorn and the two Williamses of Sergei Sorokin and Lance Stroll. I think Gasly had a car problem then in the final sector because he's now pulling over and stopping his car. But something happened in that final sector because he was on target to go faster. I'll just post another picture for you guys of a very interesting shot of Fernando Alonso. But yeah, that's unfortunate for Gasly. Let's see. So, okay, so yeah, his something failed in his car during the penultimate corner. So, oh, that's so unfortunate for Gasly. He would have got into Q2, but didn't because of a car issue, it seems. Right, here you go. A nice helmet cam of Fernando Alonso. I will post the results of Q1, guys, as soon as I get them. But right now, they're not appearing. So again, as soon as I get them, I will post them. But out in Q1 is Brendan Hartley, Pierre Gasly, Stoffel Van Dorn, Sergei Sorokin, and Lance Stroll. Gina says Leclerc splitting the two Red Bulls. Yeah, and let's also not forget to mention Ocon. Ocon in 4th place in Q1. That's very impressive. Rip Honda. Yes, Simon Craglan, that was very close for your man, Kevin Magnussen. Magnussen was about, what, a 10th away from being knocked out. So Magnussen very lucky, but I have to say, I think Magnussen will not make it to Q3. He doesn't seem to have the pace. That was 2 laps in a row about from K-Mag, sorry, that were not that good. The first lap in Q1 wasn't good enough, and the second lap was better, but not really anything special. Toy Truck says, and only 0.2 down from the leaders, go Ocon. Yeah, I think actually he's almost a 10th behind the leaders. So very good lap there for Esteban Ocon. Just looking at some more comments as we wait for the start of Q2 now. Legion says Alonso's giving us a good bow out. Yep, he is. I don't think he'll be able to do anything special though in Q2. Leclerc is speed boy. Just looking at the rest of the comments. I don't think I missed any. No. Toy Truck Roman is good in quali. Yep. He was only P11 in that session, but I don't think he went out and did a second run. So, yeah, quite good. Chaz, when's the face reveal? The face reveal will be in December, for sure. It will be in the month of December. When it will be, I don't know. You'll have to watch the videos and find out. But it will definitely be next month. And by the way, guys, if you don't know, if you have, and you should have, watched the podcasts, next weekend's podcast, obviously we're going to do a recorded podcast that will go up on Tuesday reviewing this race, but next weekend's podcast will be the first of many that will be live on the channel. Next Saturday, 3 PM UK time until about 4 PM or 4:30 PM UK time. Me and Nib will be live for the podcast, so it'd be great to have you along for that. But yeah, that's next weekend. But let's concentrate on Q2 as Daniel Ricciardo there on ultra soft tyres. So the Red Bull of Ricciardo, maybe Verstappen as well. They want to do they want to start on rather the harder compound of the ultra soft. Maybe they think that the Hypersoft is going to go massively off the cliff. And also, as Tonka Toy Truck says in the chat right now, don't forget to join our Discord server. That is the best way to get notifications for, you know, the videos or any type of videos, watch-alongs, podcasts, or anything. So, yeah, you have to join the Discord server if you want to have the best way of having notifications. Right. As Q2 is about to start, I'll just read out a couple of comments. What's the worst race of 2018? That's from Andrew Drury. I'd have to go Canada as the worst race. That was so bad, that race. Right, I found the results of Q1. I'll put them on the screen now, as it looks as though the two Mercedes are also going out on ultra soft tyres. I'm not 100% sure if this is going to work, because there's about a second difference, I believe, between the two compounds. That's Hypersoft to Ultrasoft. So here you go. Vettel fastest, but only just from Bottas second and Hamilton third. That's what I'm predicting for the top three in qualifying. Will that happen? We'll have to see. But in Q2, we now have to concentrate on who's going to be knocked out, as we've got some cars battling for position. We've got to concentrate now on who's going to be knocked out in Q2. Right, just looking through the comments as we're waiting for laps to be done. Nick Leclerc definitely had his Weetabix this morning. So did Ocon. I don't know what's going on here. So I think the faster cars are trying to pass these slower cars to try and do their laps. They want to get a lap in before, before, you know, anything else happens. Andrew Drury makes a great point, and it is true. It looked too close for the Ultrasoft to work. If the Ultrasoft works how we think it will, then I think some of these guys going out on the Ultrasoft tyre will have to go again on the Hypersoft, because from the information I have read up on, the Hypersoft is 1 second faster than the Ultrasoft tyre, and they had about an 8 to 9 tenths difference to the you know, 10th or 11th place. So it's going to be close. It's going to be close. That's what we've seen there. Maybe an unsafe release from Renault, I don't know. But anyway, let's forget about that and concentrate on Lewis Hamilton doing his first lap in Q2 on the Ultrasoft tyres. They desperately want to start on this compound and not the Hypersoft. The Mercedes works better on harder compound tyres. As he now comes through turns 2, turns 3, down into turn 4, and now at the end of the first sector. Does a 17 flat for the first sector, and now comes through on to the first DRS straight. By the way, if you can hear one of my cats, I'm sorry, but he's going absolutely crazy. There's nothing I can do about it. As Lewis Hamilton now comes into the first chicane. And, right, Hamilton... Sorry, guys, I was just muting my mic there to tell my cat to shut up, but he's not going to do so. But we'll just soldier on anyway. So, Hamilton is... Oh, he has done the fastest middle sector, faster than Valtteri Bottas. And now Hamilton is in the final sector of this lap. Yep, I know, he's a loud one. There's nothing I can do about him right now. As Hamilton now comes through to the final 2 corners and comes across the line. Does Lewis Hamilton, where does he go? Well, he's going to go fastest, but does a 35.6. I don't know if that's good or not. We'll have to see. Bottas only does a 36.3. Hulkenberg on hypersoft tyres, a 37.2. That was a great lap, I think, from Lewis Hamilton. Leclerc goes third on a 36.9. Ricciardo on ultrasoft tyres, 36.9 as well. Kimi Raikkonen on ultrasoft tyres. Where will he go? He will go into third place, I think it was. Yes, but only a second down from Lewis Hamilton. That is a lot. Vettel also on ultrasoft tyres, are the top teams wanting to start on the ultrasoft, as Vettel is now in the final sector. And Vettel now coming through the double left apex corners. And now is a Haas in front of him. He's got to get past him. He does. Final two corners. Oh, he got right on that sausage curb then. He might have damaged the car. Comes across the line. Goes fourth. Slower than his teammate. And so, yeah. So, Lewis Hamilton put in an amazing lap on the ultra-soft tyres. And did he do damage to his floor? No, I don't think he did. I think he just about got away with it. I don't think he was enough over on the curb, on that sausage curb. If he was slightly more over, he probably would have damaged his floor, but I think he just about got away with it. But right, I'll just post a picture showing you guys as Verstappen now starts his lap. I'll read out the order in Q2 once everyone sets their first lap times. You've still got Verstappen and the two Haases to do their laps, but those three are on their laps right now. Actually, I'm not going to post that picture because I want you guys to, I want people who's coming in to know what happened in Q1 first, so I'll leave that up. As Max Verstappen, he's coming down the first DRS straight, and he went a bit wide there, did Max. That's going to cost him a bit of lap time. The car looked quite nervous in that chicane, and at the end of the second sector, Verstappen is 0.8 of a second down. Now, if the Red Bull is the best in the final sector, then they should go faster with Verstappen than the two Ferraris, because as we know, Verstappen is normally the faster driver when it comes to qualifying. Right, so Kevin Magnussen has gone up to 10th and Grosjean has gone up to 8th. Interesting. Right, so Verstappen now comes to the final corner and comes across the line and goes 10th. Only 10th. What happened in the final sector? I didn't notice anything. I know he made a mistake in one of the chicanes, but wow. That is bad. He's going to have to go again. Maybe on another set of Ultra Softs or use the same set. I don't know. But that is bad from Max Verstappen. But, right. So, the order in Q2 with 6.5 minutes to go is Hamilton, so far fastest, from Bottas second. Third, Raikkonen. Fourth, Vettel. Fifth, Ricciardo. Sixth is Carlos Sainz. 7th is Charles Leclerc, 8th Grosjean, 9th Hulkenberg, 10th is Max Verstappen, and then in the drop zone and needing to get out is Magnussen, Ericsson, Ocon, Perez and Fernando Alonso. So, and Kimi Raikkonen now getting weighed. Hopefully he doesn't break the scales like his teammate did at the last race. And by the way, that is clear evidence that no, the FIA are not picking on Sebastian Vettel, and it is just luck of the draw. Everyone gets weighed during the season, during a qualifying session, but it's just luck of the draw as to who actually gets weighed. It's a computerized system, I believe. And I'm just saying, Max, through that chicane, it didn't look that bad. I don't understand why he dropped so much pace. As Magnussen, cutting it close, almost damaging his car over the sausage curb on the exit of the penultimate corner. Doesn't want to do that plenty of times during, I think, qualifying or the race. Right, so 5 minutes to go. Tonga Toy Truck. Getting weighed before you finish a quali lap is silly. It's not, it's not the FIA's fault, though. It was Ferrari's fault at that race. They should have completed a lap before that happened. It wasn't the FIA's fault that Ferrari decided to not do a lap in time before, he got weighed. They do give the teams long enough to get a lap in. They don't demand that you come in straight away. They do give you time. So, with 4 minutes to go, the drivers that I think are in danger of getting knocked out is, I'd say, Sainz, Leclerc, Grosjean, Hulkenberg, Verstappen, Magnussen, Daniel Ricciardo as well. And then obviously you've got Magnussen, Ericsson, Ocon, Perez, Alonso in the drop zone. So we have plenty of drivers, I think, that are going to come out onto the track. So, who's that coming out? That's a Mercedes, I think, on the Hypersofts. I think it is, just to, get like a test run in for Q3. And followed out by the 2 Renaults, I believe. So, on an outlap right now are Hamilton, Sainz, Leclerc, Grosjean, Hulkenberg. So is Ocon, Ericsson, Fernando Alonso. 3 minutes to go until the end of Q2. Who will be knocked out? If I had to say now, I would say I think the 2 Force Indias will be knocked out. You know what? I think it's going to stay the same. I think that drop zone is going to stay the same. So Magnussen, Ericsson, Ocon, Perez and Alonso. But we have 2.5 minutes until the end of Q2. And you never know what could happen. You could get a Force India into Q3. Could get Kevin Magnussen in. Kevin Magnussen should, to be honest, get in, because if his teammate Grosjean is doing so well, then K-Mag should be as well. Scuderia D saying the Ferrari roller coaster faster than McLaren. Probably. But we're just waiting now until the final lap of Q2. I'm very interested to see what Magnussen and Ericsson can do. Right, so Ocon and Perez, they did their laps on ultra soft tyres. So what have they gone out on now? Are they going to go out on another set of the ultra softs? I don't know, but we'll have to see. I don't know what tyres they're on. But here we go. Lewis Hamilton is going to do most of the lap and then slow down. I think Hulkenberg needs to be smart here and not follow closely to Hamilton, because Hamilton will back off in the final sector. As Hamilton now starts his lap, but so does Nico Hulkenberg. And let's see what he can do to stay in the top 10. He should stay in the top 10, but let's see. So, comes through turns 3 and 4. Now down to the end of sector 1. Already 2 tenths down on Lewis Hamilton. As now comes onto the first DRS straight. And he's going to open his DRS, which he does there. And now is coming down into the first chicane after these long straights. Hello again to Prussia. Great to see you along. Charles Leclerc again does the fastest first sector. Very impressive. And Hulkenberg Hulkenberg comes into the middle sector. 4 tenths down. This should be good enough to stay in the top 10. Grosjean, though, is going faster. Leclerc has done again, just like he did at the end of Q1, the fastest first and second sectors. Hulkenberg now comes up to the final 4 corners as Q2 has now ended. But who will be knocked out? Max Verstappen is the man at risk. And Hulkenberg comes through the final corner and goes up to 3rd place. That is fantastic. Where does Grosjean go? Grosjean goes into P4. Charles Leclerc goes into 3rd. Fernando Alonso goes 14th. Not good enough. No surprise though. Carlos Sainz stays in 9th. Esteban Ocon on hypersoft tyres gets out and into the top 10. Where is Max Verstappen? Ericsson stays in P11. I don't think Verstappen's out on the track. What have Red Bull done? What have Red Bull done here? They've absolutely blown it. Perez only 14th. That's very poor. But, oh, so Verstappen is out on a lap. That's good. I thought Verstappen was still in the pits. That would have been a disaster. But he is out on the track and will be going into the top 10 surely. As Sebastian Vettel now goes 2nd. I don't know if he was on hypersofts or not. I don't know. But here comes Max Verstappen and goes up to 2nd place. So he is into the top 10. Sainz is out. So is Magnussen. So out of qualifying is Carlos Sainz, Marcus Ericsson, Kevin Magnussen, Sergio Perez and Fernando Alonso. But I have to say, Daniel Ricciardo is very lucky. And he deserves a bit of luck. But he is very lucky to get into Q3. He gets into Q3 by how many? That's, I think, 18 thousandths of a second. 18 thousandths. That is mighty, mighty close. But that is Q2 over and done with. Sainz, Ericsson, Magnussen, Perez and Alonso out in Q2. But now we go to the most important and the most exciting part of qualifying, Q3, which will be happening in about, I'd say, 5 minutes time. So, after what you've seen so far, guys, what are your predictions for Q3? Have they changed? Are they staying the same? Let me know in the chat for the next 5 minutes in the build-up to Q3. Scuderia D, keep this camera FIA, please. They actually, well, it's not up to the FIA, it's up to FOM in terms of where the cameras are, but it's been confirmed that on every single car next season, they will have that camera on the cars. So don't worry, you'll see plenty of that in 2019. Stella, Leclerc P5, this guy is driving like he is possessed by a ghost. Yeah, that's amazing from Charles Leclerc. I know, you know, Hamilton and Bottas and Raikkonen are on ultra soft tyres and there is a second difference, but still, to be in a Sauber and to get that far up is a great job. It's a great job. And also for Hulkenberg and also Grosjean, good lap. Ocon, very good. Get into the top 10. So there you go, end of Q2. Once the results for Q2 are confirmed and are released, I will post them on the screen. What's wrong with Bottas? He usually dominates here. He is way behind Lewis. Yeah, I predicted, didn't I, that he would be in second place. Now, he was in Q1, but there in Q2, yeah, he was quite a bit behind. Just over half a second. That is way too much. I know Lewis Hamilton is very good when it comes to qualifying, but that's a bit too much from Bottas's point of view. Right, I'm just looking at my TV screen. They're analysing Sebastian Vettel's lap at the end of Q2 there. Ben McCarthy, maybe Bottas doesn't like the ultra soft. Yeah, that's a possibility. That is a possibility. I think he'll definitely be a lot closer in Q3. In Q2, the top guys, all they need to do is be fast enough at the end of the day to get into Q3. They don't need to go fastest because it doesn't matter. Maybe it matters for confidence, but it doesn't really matter in terms of the actual result. Simon Cragland, I am disappointed with K-Mag today. You should be. He was nowhere near where he should be. Should be in the top 10. No doubt about it. Andrew Drury, Verstappen is the only one in the top 6 starting on the hypers. The first few laps tomorrow should be fun. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for Verstappen to start on that tyre because as we saw in Brazil, we saw this at the US Grand Prix, Red Bull can get more out of the softest compounds and can manage them better than Ferrari and Mercedes. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that they're going to be starting on the hyper soft with Verstappen. But I guess at least they have split their strategy with the two Red Bulls. So, you know, if one strategy doesn't work, then the other should. With Daniel Ricciardo starting on the Ultra Soft. Prussia, does anyone even consider someone else than Hamilton to take pole? I do. I predicted Vettel to be on pole, so I'm still going to stick with that. And, well, look at Q1. When they were on the Hypersoft tyres, Sebastian was fastest. Only just, but was fastest. Toka Toy Truck, Bottas to take pole. I don't think he will, but it'll be close. Simon Cragland and the Hypers is not that bad of a tyre in Abu Dhabi under race circumstances. It's not as bad as it would be at another race, but it's still eventually not the best one to be on. I still think the Ultra Soft would be the best one to be on. But we thought in Brazil the soft tyre would be the best tyre, and it was probably the worst out of the three. So, yeah. But anyway, here is your results of Q2 if you have missed it. So, knocked out in Q2, Sainz, Ericsson, Magnussen, Perez and Alonso, as we now get set for Q3. Simon Cragland says, it says that he said Hamilton on pole. As, yep, Q3 has started. 12 minutes to go. Who is going to take the final pole position of 2018? I'm going with Sebastian Vettel. But even if Vettel does get pole, it's going to be very, very close at the end. Very, very close. Cohen says, I could eat my hat if Lewis does not take pole. As Hamilton now comes out onto the track. The two Red Bulls and the two Ferraris, interestingly, still in the pits. As the two Mercedes, Hulkenberg, Grosjean, Ocon and Charles Leclerc are out on track as well with them. So where are the two Ferraris and Red Bulls? Why are they not out on track? Well, here comes Ricciardo. So Verstappen will be coming out very shortly as well. Ben McCarthy, do you like the qualifying format, or would one-shot qualifying mix up the grid more and put the drivers under even more pressure? One driver at a time. If I ran F1, I would go for the old 2003, 2004, I think 2005 qualifying system, the one-shot. Because I think it makes qualifying more of a spectacle, and we get to see everyone's laps. I don't think it'd be more exciting. But that's not to say that this qualifying system isn't good. It is very good, but I think personally I'd go with that one. I really did like that qualifying system. As the two Ferraris and Verstappen are out on the track as well. So the two Mercedes will be the two first of the front runners to do their first laps in Q3. Here comes Hamilton, babysitting his tyres before he lets go at the final corner and goes all out for pole position. And taking it very easily, and now he is going to let go of the trigger and absolutely go for it on this first run in Q3. And now he does. Lewis Hamilton starts that first run. Bottas is about to start his first run, as here comes Lewis Hamilton through turns 2, turns 3, into turn 4, and does a 16.9 for the first sector. I don't know if that's good or not. We'll have to see when the Ferraris come through. But here comes Hamilton now on the first DRS straight. And now comes into the first of these chicanes at the end of that straight. Oh, locks his inside front and goes wide. That's going to have cost him a couple of tenths. Lewis Hamilton has kind of blew it a bit there on the chicane, but can make up some time still on the rest of the lap. That looks pretty much okay through there. This final sector, Lewis is very, very good in. And Bottas does do the fastest middle sector as Lewis Hamilton loses the car a bit on the exit of that corner. Now Hamilton through 17, now 18. The car is getting crossed up like crazy. Hamilton is not going to be the fastest at the end of these first runs after this. He has made, I think, too many mistakes. As he now comes across the line, does go fastest on a 35.2, but I think Bottas is about to go even faster. Let's see. Valtteri Bottas. He doesn't go faster, a tenth down. I think Bottas, he should have gone faster, really. Hamilton made a few mistakes, and Hamilton was still faster. And yet, as we've seen a replay, look, the inside front going into the first chicane after those two DRS straights. Here comes Daniel Ricciardo. He will go third and only a tenth and a half down. Very good from Ricciardo. Verstappen behind Ricciardo in fourth. Ricciardo putting in a stellar lap. Here comes Kimi Raikkonen. This is not going to be as fast. Nope, fourth place. 2 tenths down. Hamilton must have had an amazing final sector. Here comes Sebastian Vettel though. What can he do? Sebastian Vettel goes second and only half a tenth down. So, those are your first runs in Q3. The order so far is Hamilton on pole, Vettel second, Bottas third. Then, I believe, Ricciardo fourth, Raikkonen fifth, and Verstappen in sixth. I believe that's the order. Yeah, it is. And then Grosjean is P7, Hulkenberg P8, Leclerc P9, and Ocon P10. What a first lap, though, from Daniel Ricciardo. We have to say that. And just looking there, so Vettel a lot faster in the first sector, but then as the lap goes on, the Mercedes just gets faster and faster and faster. Definitely, though, very close between Hamilton and Vettel. Half a tenth. That's all that separates them. And Simon Craglin's saying Hamilton's lap wasn't that good. True, but we didn't really get to see Vettel's lap, so we don't know if he made a mistake. But Lewis's lap was scruffy. I think Lewis can go probably 3 to 4 tenths of a second faster than that and get into the 34s with that lap time. As now the Mercedes cars are being wheeled back in to their garages. And who else is out on track? The 2 Ferraris, but they were late out onto the track for their first runs in Q3. So they'll be back in. And yes, they do come back in with 5 minutes to go. So guys, after those first runs, who do you think is going to take it? I'm going to stick by Vettel, but I will say Lewis Hamilton does look very good for pole. He does look very good for pole. And as we wait for the start of the final runs in Q3, just to remind you guys, if you are new to the channel, we do this every race weekend, and we will be doing this for every race weekend in 2019. So don't forget to subscribe on the bottom right of the screen. You can do it there, or click on my channel name, go to my channel page, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell for more content like this. And just to let you guys know, I will be going live at 5 PM UK time for the review of qualifying. So that's in about 3 hours from now. I will be going live for the review of qualifying. But now we wait until those final runs in qualifying. Let's see what you guys are saying. Ultraman Nexus, Mercedes. Prussia says Hamilton. Simon Cragland says Hamilton. Also says Grosjean's lap was amazing. I haven't seen the time difference or anything, but he's done well to get that high up, as Grosjean is the first back out onto the track. It's going to be a D. Vettel takes it, but Sorokin takes last lap pole. So here comes Lewis Hamilton back out onto the track. 3 minutes to go. Can he take the final pole of 2018? And his final pole of 2018. As Ferrari waiting for the signal to go. They need to be going very shortly because there's not much time left. It takes 1 minute 40 to do a lap. When you're going at full speed. So they need to get up there soon. So you've got Grosjean, Hulkenberg, Leclerc, Ocon, the 2 Red Bulls and the 2 Mercedes out on track. And now here comes the 2 Scuderia Ferrari cars. Anders Ericsson, great to see him in the chat, says Grosjean's lap time puts K-Mag's result in perspective, lol. Yeah, Grosjean has been way ahead of K-Mag this weekend. No doubt about it. K-Mag's been very slow in qualifying today. And in practice, to be honest, he was quite slow. I think he was down in 15th or 14th. Not liking this track is K-Mag, but before they start their final runs, I'm just going to post this picture of Sebastian Vettel. There you go. Jumping and leaping over the curbs. Trying to get pole. But so far, provisionally, he is in 2nd place. Will he remain there? Who knows? We'll have to see. So, Lewis Hamilton will now very shortly, let's just see. Yeah, will very shortly start his final run. And now here he goes around the final corner. Lewis Hamilton now goes all out for pole position. Let's see what his sector times are like, and if he does do a better lap. So, here comes Lewis Hamilton through turns 3 and 4. Down into turn 5 at the end of the first sector. He's a 10.5 up on his personal best in that first sector. Now takes a wide turn in into the hairpin and gets released. And now he's on the first DRS straight and is now coming to the corner where he blew it on his first run. Lewis Hamilton comes into that chicane. Will he lock up again? Nope, he doesn't. The car is slightly out of shape though on the entry, so it wasn't perfect. It could have been better. As he now comes up to the end of the middle sector. And he is 0.2 of a second up. I think Lewis might get pole here. He looks so quick in that Mercedes and is working on a supreme level. Bottas, though, does do a fastest middle sector, so let's see what he can do. And now Lewis Hamilton comes through 18, 19, and to the final 2 corners. He got so close to the wall. He is pushing like crazy to the edge of the track. And here he comes now, Lewis Hamilton across the line. And a 1:34.7. I don't think that can be beaten. But Vettel is going fast. And so is Bottas. Here comes Bottas. Where will he go? Second. Only a 10.5 behind. Bottas could have gone faster, I think. But there you go. What can Vettel do now in this final sector? Daniel Ricciardo improves. But is 4th. Still a good effort, though. As Vettel is now coming through. Turns 18 and 19. The car doesn't look bad. It just doesn't look as good as the Mercedes. Through the final sector. As he now comes and gets right on the edge of the track. Will Vettel take pole position? No, he doesn't. He blows it in the final sector and finishes up in 3rd. It's a Mercedes front row. Kimi Raikkonen goes faster to take 4th place. And there is your order. Max Verstappen, I think, stayed in the pits during that. I don't know. But Lewis Hamilton is on pole from Valtteri Bottas 2nd. 3rd is Vettel. 4th is Raikkonen. 5th is Daniel Ricciardo. 6th is Verstappen. 7th is Grosjean. 8th is Charles Leclerc. 9th is Ocon. And 10th is Nico Hülkenberg. But it is a Mercedes front row in a very similar result pace-wise to last year's qualifying. Again, Ferrari disappointing. I have to say it, they should have had a car at least on the front row. And, well, they haven't. They're now going to have to do something quite special tomorrow to win the race. But again, I have to say, disappointing from Ferrari. No real surprise. Ferrari always disappoint when it comes to qualifying. And have been very disappointing ever since the German Grand Prix. But we're not getting to that right now. But I have to say, for Mercedes, a very good performance. I didn't think they would do this. I thought Ferrari would get pole. I thought Mercedes would be strong in 2nd and 3rd. I didn't think they would get pole or the front row. But it's been a perfect session for the team. Lewis Hamilton, a 1:34.7. A new lap record at the track. Will F1 saying boring race tomorrow? Hopefully not. I think the Red Bulls are going to make it an exciting race tomorrow because I think they're going to have the best car throughout the entire Grand Prix. And Hamilton takes another pole position. I think someone said in the chat that was his 83rd pole position. Stunning. Stunning, that is. And I think I just need to think. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think that's his 11th pole position of 2018. 11 poles. Just shows you that Lewis, when it comes to qualifying, cannot be stopped. He is the fastest driver on the grid. Stella says, also Vettel keeps his record of youngest pole sitter. I don't think that's really going to help his feelings right now, but I guess it it wasn't to be for Max Verstappen. Had his chance at Mexico, but I think he blew it. As Lewis Hamilton now getting interviewed by David Coulthard. And just to let you guys know, two things. One, soon as the results come out, I will post them on the screen, the full result of qualifying. And also, I will be on now for another probably 30 minutes to react to what's happened just then in qualifying with you guys. So, for the next half an hour, make sure you all put in the chat what you thought of qualifying, what you thought of the battle for pole, the battle at the front of the midfield, some drivers who were good, some drivers who weren't. Make sure to put that in the chat, and I will read out as many as I can and react to as many as I can. But let me just post this on the screen, get this up for you guys. Right. As Hamilton looks, again, very happy and pleased with what he's done today. Another day at the office for him. And there you go. So, Lewis Hamilton takes pole. A Mercedes 1-2 here in qualifying with Sebastian Vettel in third. So, there you go. That is your top three. The full results will be posted up very soon, probably in the next 10 minutes. But for the next half an hour, I'll react with you guys to what's happened. Roberto, what did I say, mate? The lad is unbeatable. Lewis, 5-time champion, is the best bloke in the field by far. I wouldn't say by far, but he is the best driver on the grid. There can be no doubt about that. Will F1, don't know why Abu Dhabi is the last race. It should be Baku. I don't think they can hold it in Baku because I don't think for the time of year it would work at all. It'd be way too cold. Scuderia D, it's sad because most Ferrari fans are bandwagons, but I've been a fan for a long time, and I bet you too, Toy Truck, and they don't even respect Hamilton or Mercedes. I think, there's a lot of Ferrari fans out there that are a lot smarter than others. I've come across plenty of Ferrari fans in comment sections. You guys might have seen me debating some. Some of them are completely unreasonable and are off the deep end. They're mental. And they don't make any sense. And yeah, they just have no logic or anything. And again, they don't respect Hamilton or Mercedes. But I think, smarter Ferrari fans will understand. Obviously, they're not going to like Hamilton or Mercedes, but they will understand that Hamilton has been better than Vettel in the last 2 years. And that, Ferrari are not a perfect team. It's not just, they were unlucky. Ferrari, the reason they lost the title this year in both the drivers and the constructors is because they have made too many mistakes. And Maurizio Arrivabene, in that press conference yesterday, if you've not seen it, he reacted to a BBC F1 journalist quite angrily. And I've seen people saying, the journalists shouldn't be saying this. It's the cold, hard truth. Ferrari have lost the championship because they've made too many mistakes. End of story. Arrivabene, in that press conference and with what he said, is in denial. Very, very deep denial about what's happened. And I think a lot of Ferrari fans out there are still in denial about what's happened. They've lost because of their own mistakes, not because Mercedes have cheated or luck. It's because Ferrari have completely blown it. Right, Gina says, Leclerc was fast today, can't wait for 2019. I am looking forward more to 2019 than tomorrow's race. I think tomorrow's race will be okay, but I can't wait for 2019. Can't wait at all. For the third time in 3 years, Daniel has outqualified Max at Yas Marina. That's from Ben McCarthy. Did he outqualify him last year? I didn't think he did. If I'm wrong, then there you go. But I didn't think he did out-qualify him last year. But, right, let's look at some more comments. Andrew Jury, will you be doing a rain dance tonight? Nope, because I could do it all night and it wouldn't happen. So, yeah. Right, I'm just scrolling through to make sure I include all of your comments. Tonka Toy Truck, will Leclerc and Ocon hold on to their positions in the race? I think Ocon won't. I think Leclerc will. If Ferrari still had their batteries, it would have been a far more interesting year. That's from Tonka Toy Truck. Well, if you have missed my part 2 to the Ferrari battery issue explained, that has been debunked. Ferrari do have those batteries, and they have been running them still. The reason they dropped off the pace was because they brought upgrades to the rear wing and the front wing and the barge boards, and all of them failed. And the rear wing made their car go quite a lot slower in a straight line. So it wasn't the batteries. It wasn't the batteries at all. It was poor aerodynamic upgrades or downgrades. Right. Let me just scroll up to see some more comments. Scuderia D, I feel good for Bottas. Yes, it's an alright qualifying session. I think he'll be disappointed though, because this is a track where Valtteri should be good at. Just looking through the chat. I think I've read most of these. Ben McCarthy, I tell you, Hamilton is seriously getting close to Senna in terms of the greatest of all time of qualifying. He is, for sure. I don't think he is the fastest of all time. If Lewis gets to 100 pole positions, then I'll probably say then that Lewis is the best qualifier of all time. But right now, I'm still leaning towards Ayrton Senna. Right. Roberto, here it is. Or here is how I see it. Lewis will be a gentleman and give the win to Bottas tomorrow. Top 3 Bottas, Lewis and Vettel. I don't think that will be the case because I think Red Bull will be so quick that they won't be able to do that. They'll have to focus on being as quick as they can instead of, you know, giving positions to each other. Adam Ahmed, imagine Senna versus Hamilton versus Schumacher, if only. Yep, that would be great. Well, imagine if we had Senna and Schumacher. We could have had that, but sadly we didn't get it. Beacon F1, if Valtteri nailed the last sector and improved a little in the first sector, he could have got pole, or he would have got pole. Yeah, in the middle sector, he was very good. I think it was the last sector where he was losing the time. He just isn't as good as Lewis in the final sector. I think the first sector was just about okay. It is, again, just that final sector. He just doesn't have enough to beat Lewis, I think. Scuderia D says, Senna, fastest driver, Schumacher, best race winner and champion, Hamilton, best pole sitter. Well, I don't think you can say Hamilton best pole sitter because, you know, Ayrton Senna did get a lot of pole positions. Ayrton Senna had, was it 65 pole positions? And that was probably 3 or 4 years. And, you know, once, you know, his life sadly ended at Imola, he was probably 3 or 4 years away from the end of his career. So he would have got closer to 100. So I don't think you can say Hamilton is the best pole sitter because, again, we don't know what Senna would have done. And if, you know, Senna's faster than Hamilton, you can't say that Hamilton is a better pole sitter. Han Solo, talking about responding to someone else there. Ben McCarthy asks, who is the best or the greatest team principal ever? For me, I'd probably say Jean Todt. I think he was very, very good at Ferrari at dealing with, well, what he dealt with. Right. Will F1, do you think Hamilton will get 100 wins? I think he will if he stays in F1 long enough. If he stays in F1, say another 3 or 4 years, I think he will. But it depends on a lot of things. Can Mercedes maintain this kind of speed? I don't know. We'll have to see. Again, it depends on a lot of things. But I have finally got the results, guys, of qualifying if you're just joining us. Let me just get it on the screen. Right, so here you go. And let me enlarge it. So, on pole position is Lewis Hamilton. Second is Valtteri Bottas. Third is Vettel. Fourth is Raikkonen. Fifth is Ricciardo. Sixth is Verstappen. I have to say Red Bull, I think pace-wise, compared to the top two teams, had a very good qualifying. And then Grosjean is P7, Leclerc P8, Ocon P9, Hulkenberg P10, Sainz is 11th, Ericsson 12th, 13th Magnussen, 14th Perez, 15th Alonso, 16th is Hartley, 17th Gasly, Toro Rosso were quite poor, 18th Van Dorn, and then the two Williamses at the back of the grid. But there you go. Those are your qualifying results. Let me react to more comments in the chat. 2019, this is in Crystal Racing. 2019 will be a referendum on whether F1 would be worth watching if Hamilton, Mercedes dominate again. This is the thing. Yes, you can say, oh, you know, they've won again and all of that, but they haven't dominated the season. For most of 2018, they haven't had the fastest car, but have gone on to, with Lewis Hamilton, the drivers, and in the constructors, have dominated. The reason that is because they are so good at getting results. If Ferrari were very good at getting results on race day, then Ferrari would probably be winning at least one of the titles. But they haven't. So, you know, I just think, yes, they are dominating the sport in terms of winning the championships, but it's still very close between those top three teams. And you have to remember, for most of this season, Mercedes have not had the fastest car. So it's not, you know, 2015, 2014, like where they were winning the drivers and constructors still, but they had quite clearly the best car. This season has been the best hybrid season so far by an absolute mile. It's been a very good season. We've had boring races, but most of it has been pretty good, I would say. Crystal Racing, Mercedes on average still have a faster car, but I don't think they do. Look at this season. Ferrari have had a very fast car. Ferrari, in at least 12 of the races, have had a faster car. Red Bull have been faster at a few races. I don't think Mercedes have had the fastest car this season. I think Ferrari have had the fastest car, then Mercedes. I don't think Ferrari are, you know, dominantly quick, but they have had the better car over the course of the season. And then Red Bull have just got better, I think, through the season. Right, let me just read some more. Beacon F1, if Hamilton wins every championship up until his contract runs out. Let me just read that. Just scroll down. Up until his contract runs out, he will have equaled Michael Schumacher titles numbers. If that happens, do you think he will stay on to beat it? Yes, I think he will. If he gets to 7 by the end of 2020, he'll stay on to beat it and to make sure he has the pole position record and win record as well. And make sure he pulls away in those two categories. Right, Still I Rise, Bottas had a great season. He was unlucky in the first half. I think people forget how unlucky Bottas has been. I've seen a lot of people criticising him when they have to remember that he should have won in China and Baku, and he would have won in Russia, probably if he did win those races without the bad luck. So, there you go. Will F1 over the season, Ferrari and Mercedes have been equal overall. I disagree. I think Ferrari have had the better car. Again, not clearly. I think it's been, if you look at the course of the 21 races, I think Ferrari have had the better car compared to Mercedes, probably, again, well, not 12 times, I'd say. If you're comparing directly Ferrari versus Mercedes, I would say Ferrari have had the better car. Again, about 12, even probably 13 or 14 times this season. Because even at races where Red Bull had the best car, such as Mexico, Monaco, Ferrari were better than Mercedes. So you have to count that as well. Alexandra Lewis, Ferrari had fastest car but just bottled it way too much. Yep, I agree. Still I rise. Lewis in a Ferrari would have been a championship. Yep, I think Lewis would have been even more dominant if he was in that Ferrari. He wouldn't have made costly and silly mistakes. Crystal Racing, only in China have Ferrari out-qualified Mercedes by over 4/10 of a second. Elsewhere, it's only been 2/10 at most. Again, I'm not saying dominantly. I'm just saying factually, I think Ferrari have had the best car overall this season. Again, it's still close. It's not, you know, Mercedes in 2014 or 2015 type of dominant, but I think Ferrari have had the faster car. They just have blown it too much. And I think if Lewis was in the same car as Sebastian Vettel, then I think it'd be pretty clear that Ferrari have the fastest car. And I don't think anyone would really doubt it. Warren M. Hamilton has just had a basically mistake-free season, close to his best. I will say, and I'm going to get onto this in my end-of-season review, which is coming out next week to do with Hamilton and Vettel. This has been a great season for Lewis, but it hasn't been his best. I think 2017 was Lewis's best season to date. I don't think 2018 has, because the first half of the season he was hit and miss. One race he'd be ahead of Bottas, one race he'd be behind. In 2017, most of the season he was quite comfortably ahead. So I think this has been a great season for Lewis, but it's not been his best. He can improve for sure. Crystal Racing, you need to realise Ferrari's management and tech development have been awful in the second half of the season. I'm not doubting that. I'm not doubting that at all, and I've even criticised them on that. But it still remains that Ferrari, say, if you look from Monza, if you look from the first race all the way to Monza, Ferrari had a better car than Mercedes in Bahrain, China, Baku, Monaco, Canada. I think Silverstone, Ferrari had a better car. Hockenheim, Hungary, Spa, Monza, and then ever since Singapore, yes, Mercedes have been better than Ferrari since Singapore, but Ferrari did have a better car compared to Mercedes in COTA and Mexico. So, again, I still think Ferrari have had the better car. If Lewis can still improve that, that's got to be a terrifying prospect for his rivals, yes. But I think he can improve. If you look at 2018, it has not been his best season. He was better, I think, in 2017. Ben McCarthy, I think 2018 was better. He was outperformed by Vettel in the first half of 2017. It had quite weekends like Bahrain, Russia, Monaco, Austria and Hungary, being clearly outperformed by Bottas. Well, Bahrain in 2017... yes, he didn't qualify ahead of Bottas, but finished quite comfortably ahead. So, I wouldn't say Bahrain, but yeah, for those races, true. But the reason I say 2018 is because he was behind Bottas in Bahrain, in China and Baku was about equal, but I think Bottas in the race was better. Canada, Bottas was better. Austria, Bottas was better. And that's, you know, race 1 up until about race 9. So again, I think Valtteri was better than Hamilton at those races. And I also believe, again, that Hamilton this season has not been as good as he was in 2017. This is not the best Lewis Hamilton, in my opinion, we have ever seen. If he can improve, but if he does, then yeah, I don't see how he can be stopped. Warren M. Lewis took a while to get his car working this year. Rears and rear brake temps were a major issue for him. Yeah, they were, but at the end of the day, it wasn't like he was having those issues, but he was still the front-running Mercedes. At some of the races, it was Bottas, and you guys might disagree with this, but if Lewis is behind Bottas, then something is wrong with Lewis Hamilton, because he should not be behind Bottas, you know, for those types of races. At China and Canada, Lewis Hamilton should not be out-qualified by Valtteri Bottas, because those are great Lewis Hamilton circuits. Still I Rise says, Chazo, this is Lewis's best year in terms of mindset. Brazil, perfect example. Let Max by, because Max will mess up. I think his mindset is at its best, but again, I don't think overall he has been at his absolute best in 2018. I think 2017 was the best Lewis Hamilton I've seen, anyway. Francisco, what do you think about Vettel and Kimi comparison this year? I think Kimi Raikkonen has been a lot closer to Vettel than people think. In the first half of the season, Vettel was clearly faster and better than Kimi. But ever since the summer break, Kimi has been about equal with Vettel, I think. Which, you know, for Vettel is not... it's not good enough, because look, Kimi Raikkonen is good, but he's not ever really going to be good enough to go for a world championship. So if he wants to beat Lewis Hamilton, he has to be all over Kimi Raikkonen and beating him quite comfortably. And Crystal Racing, who I know, is a massive Kimi Raikkonen fan. Major improvement from Kimi this year, absolutely. This has been Kimi Raikkonen's best season, I think, since 2008. I think it's been Kimi's best season since 2008. Better than his Lotus days. This is the best season he's had since his comeback, for sure. Warren M. They've let Kimi race after summer because they shifted focus to the constructors. I'm not sure if they have, but I don't really know what to say about that. Crystal Racing, me, Kimi fan, never. Yeah, don't worry. I have seen your Twitter handle and everything. Right. Let me just look through and make sure I haven't missed any comments. I know I have missed some, so I'll try and read out as many as I can. Crystal Racing also saying about, I think, something to do with the Ferrari management. Crystal Racing says, plus at Red Bull, Vettel had Horner and Marco to help him better to deal with high pressure situations. At Ferrari, he is very lonely, with Arriva-Bene getting more frustrated and erratic. I think Vettel has always had this issue of cracking in high pressure situations, but I do agree he's not helped by the personnel he is surrounded by. I do agree with that. He could be surrounded by a lot better personnel. There is rumours that Rob Smedley is coming back to Ferrari for 2019. That would be good if that is true, and that would help. But yeah, definitely the personnel at Red Bull in 2013 2013, 2012, 2011, 2010 was a lot better than the Ferrari personnel right now. And I think if you look at the Ferrari personnel, it's not as good as Red Bull's for me at all. It's not. Red Bull, if they had that car pace-wise, they would be challenging Mercedes and Hamilton a lot more than Vettel and Ferrari have, I think. Right, I'll read out a couple more comments and then I will end this stream. Just to let you guys know as well, in 2.5 hours time, I'll be live again at 5 PM UK time to do a full 1 hour live review of qualifying. So don't forget to come along to that. Han Solo, in the end, Ferrari lost because of mistakes by Vettel and strategy blunders. Lewis is the best driver, but he is also helped by Ferrari this season. And many races, Mercedes as a team was just better. You, sir, have hit it absolutely on the money. You have. Right, I'm just scrolling up. Sorry if I'm a bit silent. I'm just scrolling up to see comments. I can see plenty here. I'm just trying to find a couple to end on. Still I rise. Honda Red Bull Racing will take leaps forward in horsepower next season. Is setting up to be like 2012. Renault is rumoured to gain horsepower as well. Their chassis is nice now, and Haas will gain. I wouldn't go that far, but I think Honda with Red Bull will get Red Bull closer to the front, where they should be. Their chassis is the best on the grid. No one can even debate that or deny it. They have the best chassis on the grid. No doubt about it. If they can get more power in that car to use against Mercedes and Ferrari, they will be up there winning races. No doubt about it. Right. The final comment I'll end on is from Will F1. People have said Ferrari have made a mistake in not supporting Vettel like he was at Red Bull. Hence why he coped a lot better with the pressure back then. I think he's been supported better at Ferrari in terms of at Red Bull, he was the team leader, but it was an indirect team leader. He had equal status in terms of wheel-to-wheel battles with Mark Webber. At Ferrari, he is the clear #1 driver. Kimi Raikkonen is the clear #2 driver. Yes, they have raced in the past at Ferrari, but it's clear that Vettel is the #1 and the team leader. But he hasn't got the job done. So I understand your point, but yeah, there you go. But anyway, that is it for this qualifying watch along. Thank you guys for coming along. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, guys. We do this every race weekend, and we will be doing this for 2019. So don't forget to subscribe on the bottom right of the screen, or click on my channel name, go to my channel page and subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications bell as well. Like this video, comment down below what you thought of this video and what did you think of qualifying and what happened in the session. Also, don't forget to join my Discord server, link below in the description. The Discord is the best way to get notifications for my videos. The YouTube notification system is broke, let's be honest. So if you want notifications for my videos, you have to join that server, link below in the description. I think right at the bottom. Also, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Chaz6110. A great way to keep up to date with me and the channel and when I'm going live or uploading videos. At Chaz6110 is my Twitter. And also, to keep up to date again with the channel's content, check out chazerhd.com. That is also in the description with a link. But guys, until the qualifying review at 5 PM UK time, it's been me, ChazerHD. Goodbye.